Hey everyone, Ryan here, we're M&R Productions, and welcome to my review of the Summer 2012 Desert Skiff, given set number 9496 with 213 pieces. It also included 4 awesome minifigs, which we'll take a closer look at momentarily. This set retailed for just $25, and it was great to combine with the Jabba's Palace set that was also released in the same summer. Adjusted for inflation, though, that $25 is looking more like $30 in today's money, but more importantly, if you want to buy this on eBay in a sealed box, it's going to cost you somewhere between $60 and $70 now, which is a bit much for what you're getting, obviously, but man, this is just a cool classic set to me. It comes with the Sarlacc pit, the Desert Skiff, and like I said, 4 minifigs. It's got the Darth Maul box art, which looks awesome up there. On the top, it just shows your minifigs again. Bit redundant, but you know, that's how they are sometimes. And then around back, we just see the Desert Skiff with a few different angles and features shown off. So let's unbox this and see what's inside. Woo! Quite a bit there for just a $25 set, and numbered bags. What do you know? For some reason, there's a comic strip in the back showing Boba Fett falling into the Sarlacc pit, and then we have the other summer 2012 LEGO Star Wars sets there. Our first minifigure is Kithaba, who is a character that has only ever been made for this one particular set. He was one of Jabba's slaves and one of the Skiff guards, and they made a pretty good figure here. I think the only downside with this guy is his straight red legs. I really feel like he would have benefited from some dual molded legs. I think they look a bit ridiculous, and he is clearly wearing some pretty big black boots that would obviously represent well with dual molded legs. So yeah, that's the one downside of this guy, but they've got a pretty good looking face on him. Kind of looks like it's straight out of Lord of the Rings to me. Love the dark red hat. He's got a blaster. So yeah, overall a really good character. Just really would have benefited from some dual molded legs. Luke Skywalker here is probably the weakest minifig in the set. He's got a nice green lightsaber, which is about where the nice stuff stops. The torso print for him is rough. I mean, yeah, it's detailed, looks nice and accurate, whatever, same with the back print, but the little bit of skin that they have showing on the torso print looks utterly ridiculous. I don't understand why they think that is okay. Only the best is good enough, I suppose. But wait, that doesn't make sense. It's not the best. So yeah, clearly you can tell it's a bit too tan, because when they try to print skin tones on a darker color Lego piece, it always comes out too dark, which makes me question why they don't just print it lighter than they intend, and then it would end up dark enough to match what it's supposed to be. But anyway, yeah, it does not match the tan color or skin tone color of his hands and his head at all. It looks quite ridiculous to me. And then the hairpiece is just smooth with no texture or real detail to it, so that's a bit of a shame too. So yeah, Luke Skywalker minifigure, while passable for the time perhaps, really isn't that good. On the complete opposite end of the spectrum, though, we have the Lando Calrissian minifigure here in his Skiff Guard outfit. Looks fantastic. I love it. You can see the chest plate kind of reflects back with the light there. Always love that. He's got a very nice weapon, and his helmet is spectacular. You can see even printed onto the front there to add a bit of color and detail. And if we remove that, you can see his gleaming smile. Just a beautiful Lando Calrissian minifigure all around. Big fan of this one in particular, much better than the Luke Skywalker. And finally, we have Boba Fett, who for such a cheap set is incredibly detailed. The thing I'd like to point out on this guy is that his waist piece is in dark green, as you can see around back here, but they actually printed on the front of it to try and make it match the brown of the torso. Much like with the chest print on Luke, it doesn't really come out the same color as they seem to have intended. And you can certainly tell on the box, I think they did themselves a favor and used one that for whatever reason is better, or maybe Photoshop to look better, because that does not look like this at all. I can't see any of the texture detail lines that are supposedly on the waist piece on the box. But nonetheless, the rest of the figure looks great, and it's not to me as glaring as the Luke Skywalker print error. The helmet for Boba Fett and the jetpack look very nice in sand green, and of course matchy-matchy. Underneath you'll find a special Boba Fett face, and you can drop down the rangefinder on his helmet as well. And then underneath the jetpack is actually no print. It's completely blank on the back, which is nice because I feel like it's a big waste to have a detailed print under a little cape and jetpack when no one's really ever going to see that. So it's nice that they weren't wasting resources back then, but they do it commonly, which, I mean, it's nice for the extra detail, but it's really not necessary. Mostly really good minifigure selection aside, let's talk about the builds, which I think conceptually for LEGO was about having a really great playset, but I think this does also work for display if you can combine it with a Jabba's sail barge or a Jabba's palace type of set. So if you've got one of those, this goes really really well with them. Obviously, being retired, all of them being retired, it's a bit difficult. They're more expensive to get that combo together, but at the time it made a lot of sense paired with the Jabba's Palace that had just come out and the Jabba sail barge that would come out one summer later. But yeah, let's take a closer look at these builds. For the Skiff alone, you have quite a few things going on packed into something that's, I don't know, probably less than 140 pieces. It's actually got quite a few functions and features. So at the very front of it, there's not really a lot going on. Like, I would feel like you could slip in some piece of storage up here or something. Like, there's enough space for it, but they don't actually make use of the space. And you can just take a figure and sit them up here at the very front if you want. And that's about all you're gonna be able to do with the front end of the Skiff. However, as we get into the midsection, things get a lot more interesting. We have this part here, which you can see very obviously is inviting you to pull on it, and if you push forward on it, it will extend the plank, at which point you can have your characters force Luke Skywalker, against his will, to walk out onto the plank, and they actually have a little spot for him on the end here. So you can have your characters behind him, egging him on to jump off the plank, and of course, into the Sarlacc pit, which, when placed side by side, does not accurately represent the Sarlacc pit. Like, you would need the Skiff to be way up here. It just is not a very sensible thing from that perspective. And that's not a knock against the Sarlacc pit. I think they do the best they can with this type of thing. You have to take some creative liberties for something that's literally underground. You can't build out the whole thing for a $25, $30 playset like this. It just doesn't work. I'm not knocking it for that, but that's just the reality of it. So you can see they do a great job of building some sand around it and giving it the little teeth, and it's got some tentacles coming out that it could perhaps grab Luke or even Boba Fett with, which we'll get to. So you've got this big gaping mouth that you can take a character like Boba Fett, of course, and stick him inside and have him be eaten alive by the Sarlacc pit. But as we all know, he does survive, so he can then break out. Obviously, not an intended play feature perhaps at the time that Boba Fett were to survive, but obviously with Book of Boba Fett, we know that he gets out of the Sarlacc pit. So that's kind of cool that you can do either or. Of the three that exist, it is not the worst. So I'll leave it at that for the Sarlacc pit and move it back off to the side as we talk a little bit more about the beautiful looking Skiff here, which I think is the best desert Skiff they've made. That is kind of middle of the road for the Sarlacc pits. This, I think, is peak desert Skiff of, I believe, the 4 that they have made. But turning the Skiff to the other side, you'll see a flick-fire missile, which, this was the peak era of flick-fire missiles. They were everywhere. They were put on everything, and so they found a way to sneak one onto the side of the Skiff, which if you push can just fall out, or of course, if you flick, is going to have a little bit of a better result as far as like shooting speed. As you can see, it hit my thumb rather fast there and was able to bounce back. So flick-fire missiles work as intended when actually flicked. You can see they use these clear pieces on the bottom to allow the desert Skiff to actually float, and most importantly, so that you can raise up these little side panels and have them not be touching the ground. Like, otherwise you'd have to have them like this, which isn't necessarily how you see it in the film. So to achieve this look when placed on the ground, you actually have to have something to lift it off the ground to give it some clearance with these on the side. So the design for these is really nice and simple. You can move them up and down as you please and twist them around. I just prefer to leave them right about like this. I think that is like their optimal look for, I don't even know what you'd call them, the wings or fins at the back of the Skiff, but they can be a bit annoying if you get them out of like alignment, because I'm one of those people that really likes their symmetry, and it would throw off the symmetry if one of them is just slightly out of whack. Now on the back, there is my least favorite part of this 2012 design, and it's just this little plate that kind of sticks out beyond the curvature of the actual Skiff. It's an unfortunate thing that exists. I don't really think it was necessary. I think they might have had the pieces available to just use like a slanted piece and basically cut this particular part off. I'm really not sure why they ended up using this, because I don't think it looks very good. But anyway, you have this control area here with a couple of antenna pieces, and you can actually move this back just a little bit if you want a little bit more space to get your character in there, and then I usually just close it back up after. Just lets you put the character in a little bit easier. So I do like that, and you can see how that whole section looks. There's a little bit of a gap on the side between that. And then really the final part of the whole thing here to me is this section here. It's a little storage area where you can actually open it up and store some weapons. And you may notice this pair of 1x4 brown pieces with the siding there, and it looks very good. It's this exact piece here. However, this is the piece that came in the set. So you're probably wondering, Ryan, why isn't it on the set? Well, as you can see, it's snapped. So buyer beware if you're buying old Lego sets with old reddish brown and old, I think, dark red as well is a big problem, where the pieces can snap on you. When I was just putting it on the set like you would normally build it, and the piece just snapped. The other one luckily didn't. I was able to find a replacement within my collection, but that is a problem on some of these older sets. So for those of you that, watch these reviews and then want to go out and buy something like this, even this is brand new out of the box. So it's not like I bought a used one and that's it. Like, this was brand new out of the box and it still snapped. So it's just a general Lego issue with those sorts of things to keep your eye on, and be a little bit careful when you're putting these sets together, such as not to snap pieces, because then you have to go through the trouble of finding replacements. As of the recording of this review, you can pick this set up on a site like eBay for about $70 brand new in the box, and man, is that worth it for this classic Lego Star Wars set. I love the look of the Skiff. I love the look of the Sarlacc pit. It's a great combo. You don't get a lot of combos in Lego Star Wars. It's usually like, here's your Sandcrawler, here's your MTT, here's your ATST, and it's kind of all you get. But with this, it's 2 builds in one, and I love it. I think it looks great. I think you get 4 amazing characters, one of which, of course, has only ever been created for this particular set in Kithaba. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. But the Boba Fett and Luke Skywalker not being that great, but Luke Skywalker and Lando Calrissian, really nice additions. I mean, most people probably have a Boba Fett, might have a Lando. It's not about getting the characters for this one. I think it's particularly the builds, and they are real cool. So I give this one a 9 out of 10. It's a beautiful combo set, and especially for the price back in the day, was very much worth the money. And even today, like I said, if you got the $70 to burn, totally worth picking up a new and sealed box one on eBay, or you can go used, of course, to save a bit of money. So let me know what you guys think about this one in the comments below. If you enjoyed, a like would be greatly appreciated, and you can check out more Lego Star Wars set reviews on the end screen now.